Hi everyone, welcome to Dire Bear Adventuring Company's Wednesday night presentation of Binary Heroes, aka Brobots. Now, technically, Brobots in disguise. Last time we met, what you are? Last time we met, they had talked to Ventnor. They gathered up some materials to head topside, and my glasses have a lot of reflection there. Anyways, they got materials to go topside, including new identities and a firmware upgrade. And if everybody remembers, the way that this works is that we have your stats times your firmware plus any additional modifiers. That's your score. Boom. No dice, no mess, no fuss. Topside, or actually that's where they were heading whenever there was a raid. Robots, police were called in. The speakeasy was emptied out. Quickly, they find themselves in an abandoned tenement where the doc worked on them all and made them all upgraded with their new identities and what have you. If you'll notice tonight, we are short one robot, and I think that's because they are frozen somewhere in Chicago. I can't say for sure, but that is our thought process on that, is that somewhere it's freezing cold. Hang on just 1 second here, folks. So, grab your friends, tell them all we're playing robots again, and everything should be fine. I am your GM, Captain Sack, aka Heath, aka the Dire Bear GM, or the company name Dire Bear Adventuring Company. I took my glasses off so that it wouldn't make a big glare, and I realized I kind of need those. All right. Now, when last we left off, you were in the tenement. The police were closing in, or were they? You know that you hid there. And what are you doing from here?
Well, we're all upgraded. We should probably head topside.
We might want to wait it out until the cops are finished doing whatever they're going to do at the speakeasy.
That's true, I guess. Were we just staying quiet?
I think you were all being very quiet, being very, very quiet.
Very quiet. All hiding in our room.
But we were in an abandoned building, and I think we had managed to block the door back up pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we used railings.
Yes, you had taken the railing off of the... You'd taken a railing off the staircase and kind of like wedged it around so that it would kind of hold the door in place.
Yeah.
So, there you are. Now what are you doing? Giving a listen, you can see that the police force, your former comrades, or maybe some of them were, you don't know, are marching around through the area.
Oh.
Is it obvious what they're looking for or what they're doing?
They just seem to be like looking for people, but you're not sure if they're looking for particular people or if they're looking for those who appear to be ne'er-do-wells. You're not sure.
If anything, we shouldn't stay in one place too long. If they know better, they're probably going to search most of the surrounding area. Especially if they're looking for somebody specifically. So whether we come or go, it really depends on how we want to travel, though. Could be like Romeo and travel rooftop to rooftop.
That's really going to draw their suspicion.
Somehow I don't think our good doctor can do the rooftop to rooftop.
Just yeet the doctor.
I strongly advise against yeeting the doctor.
If anybody could do it.
Well, I'm
Just a
sure that you
suggestion.
could yeet him with great efficiency. I highly suggest against it.
Chuck a doc.
Now Zachary's just looking between the two of them, trying to figure out what yeet means.
To be honest, Ghost probably doesn't understand what yeet means either. He's probably just heard it once and like,
Heard it once. It was something those humans said.
heard it once and then I saw something get thrown, so.
There we go. Sorry for the reflective surfaces, but I can't see. All right. Giving it some time, you wait. There's a clear sound of tung, 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 tung. They declare the block to be empty. And after a few more minutes, they seem to withdraw from their searching of the area. And you find yourselves alone in the tenement. Doesn't appear to be any robots in the area that seem to be searching for anything.
This is
What are
probably
you
our
doing?
best chance to get moving. If we are going to move.
End of the game, you all just sit here. It's just
We're
This is
robots,
where we
we
live.
can.
This is where we live now.
You could.
This is our home.
Just shuts down.
Sleep mode to conserve power.
Sure. Do that.
Lasts even longer.
You're not an energizer.
Should we double back to the speakeasy and see?
Probably not.
We were supposed to get the Babbage boys to go with us.
I don't think we were.
Do we just grab any one of them?
What use do we have for a Babbage boy? We have everything we need. The Babbage boys have done their usefulness. They've done their end of the deal. We just need to get topside now and go find that human.
Yes, the creator or whatever he was calling himself. You don't suppose he's the one all the rumors were about?
Rumors?
Yes, I've heard rumors of a cult leader, for lack of a better term, I guess, that some of the humans were following. That was calling himself the creator.
Huh. Well, let's hope not.
If he is, that's a lot of issues.
Yes. And I haven't actually seen him interact with any humans, so...
Who knows? Maybe it's humans he's running from.
Maybe it's everyone he's running from. Can I go back down to the door and check to see if there's any sound coming from the alleyway from the door we came in?
You certainly may. Going back down the staircase, you kind of lean against and listen. No, doesn't seem to be anything out there. Seems to be quiet once again.
I'll move the railing and open the door a little bit.
Okay. As you open the door a little bit, it squeaks loudly, but no one seems to respond to your noise making. Even the speakeasy that's down a few blocks, you don't see any activity. Nobody seems to be moving in and out of it either.
Okay. I'll call up to the rest of the group. We can probably head out now. Probably saying we should probably head out now, so that way whenever they come back, they'll probably round back anyway.
An excellent idea. Sooner started, sooner finished.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
All right. Heading out and down the street. Are you going back towards the speakeasy, or are you going to try to find access or egress to the top side?
I assume we're heading to the top side.
All right. From your location, Ghost, you are aware that one of the nearest top sides is still several miles away.
Okay.
But it is outside of what is known to be the Babbage Boys area. You do not know who controls the other part of the Undercity where you are heading to.
Okay. Headed into unknown territory.
Unknown territory. Danger zone. The streets after the altercation that happened at the speakeasy, the streets seem to be almost unnaturally quiet. Unnaturally quiet even for robots. As you continue moving forward, you do not seem to see any activity until you hear the sound of a rattling engine. From your best guess, it sounds like one of the valves is about to go on it as it's clacking loudly as it goes. The muffler rattling underneath it. You see an old panel van, like used for moving trucks and things like that. The back of it is a is a faded white to gray mess. Whatever was written on the side at one time is long since faded away, leaving only one letter, the letter L, somewhere towards the end of the word, possibly maybe the middle. A banner still blazoned in the primer underneath it. Seems to be all that's left written on the side of this panel van. You watch as it approaches, turning the corner and heading in your direction as you are moving from alley to street to alley. It seems to be cutting down one of the streets that is directly in front of you. It's not moving quickly, but it's moving fast enough that if you stepped in front of it, it'd have to have a hard break, and you're pretty sure that there would be some metal on metal contact.
Let's not step in front of it.
Nope. I'll just, if Ghost is leading the way, he'll just like hold one of his hands out just to kind of stop the other two. Just to see if the van moves past.
As you kind of hold your hand out to stop the others, you watch as the vehicle itself seems to slow. You can't see in the windows, you realize that they are tinted. And all of a sudden it starts to pick up speed again. Not quickly, not like they've hammered down the pedal. As it goes by, you can see the rear of the van the door is open. Giving it a quick scan on the inside, you can see that it is piled high with robots. Not piled high as in like they're stacked in like sardines, but like they've all clambered in there. And somewhere in the midst of them, you catch a maybe familiar face. The Doc, you look over at the same time and see a different chassis, but the face of Ventnor. As he moves out of the way, the van goes down the block and out of sight eventually.
Oh, they're running.
You cross over the street and into the next alley. A couple more hours of travel and you find yourself standing in front of a large cylinder. And when I say a large cylinder, it's like the size of a parking garage, but instead of being like a ramp that seems to spin up, it is a solid tube. At the base of it, you see 3 guards. Shiny and new. You know them to be gatekeepers. They guard the actual entrance back up to the upper part of this, to the upper city.
Sorry, Cap, can you remind me what my cover was again? Because I don't apparently have it written down.
Okay.
I thought I had it written down, but I apparently didn't write it down. Unless...
Does everybody else have theirs?
Nope, never mind.
No,
I wrote it down on the front page. I wrote it down on the front page like a smart person where all the stats are.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, and
You're a
all I've
bodyguard.
written down is bodyguard. Yeah, I was going to say retired.
Ghost is bodyguard.
Bodyguard. It's like, perfect.
I am
And what was that,
international affairs for an international energy company.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Atlas will be joining us soon.
Oh, good.
Do you remember what yours was, Jason?
No. I know it was something repair oriented, I think.
You were working R&D for another company, basically.
Okay.
It was
So exactly
not
what
far
I
off of your cover, your normal life.
Just a different name or whatever, or
Mhm.
serial number.
Romeo was
Wasn't it still along the lines of
he was like Romeo was a spokesperson for
fire safety?
Fire safety.
Atlas.
Oh, there we go.
In Zoom, the 3 dots over your camera, you'll have to start your video.
Fantastic. There we go. Thank you.
Are you
Sorry
staying
about that.
warm?
I'm trying so fucking hard. I just got home from being out in the cold. Thank God I was all bundled up, but holy shit, it is cold.
It's like what? And it's supposed to be
Right now it's
50?
yeah. Well, right now it's about -23.
Ooh.
It's gross.
And that's in
It's
Fahrenheit.
It's just gross.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's -23 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it's not Celsius. Celsius might be slightly not as bad, but
No, I'm pretty
All
sure
right.
it'd be pretty close.
yeah. Because 30 is where they meet up, so
It's
All right.
still shit cold.
yeah.
My bones weren't meant for this.
Oof,
I was
ouch.
complaining because it was 21. Not a -21, just 21.
Just 21. You have the audacity to come to me.
And complain
On
about
this,
the cold.
the day of my daughter's
My
wedding.
daughter's wedding.
Ooh, you are your mic is picking up really well.
Yes, because it's my spicy new mic.
Jesus.
We are gonna have to fix that
Need-
gain, my dear,
need
because
you
that
to
is
calm
crackly
down.
as hell.
You broken.
That is super crackly.
All right. All right. Well, you find yourself facing up against, well, not up against, but you see the 3 gatekeepers in front of you. Similar units to what Ghost is. They seem a little bit slimmer, whereas Ghost is a powerhouse. These seem to be more built for speed and some stopping power. A cursory glance of their systems scanning gives you that they are firmware version 2, and that while they do have a lot in the bravery and bronze, brains isn't their forte.
Sorry, what was Romeo's cover again?
He is a liaison for like fire safety and
Right, okay.
protective services.
Adela is going to walk up with a 3 behind her and state, We have finished our tour of the lower section. We would like to return back to our various places of work.
One of them steps forward, the designated leader for this particular moment, and asks for you to present your ID for scan.
Were we given that?
Yeah.
What?
Basically, just stand there for a minute.
Yeah, she does. She does. I was like, I'm pretty sure I was given an ID, but I don't remember. Like,
Zachary, I'm
it's
pretty
been
sure
a
installed them
long
in
2
Arms.
weeks, okay? Give me a break.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, everybody, who is watching, all 3 or 4 of you, for bearing with us last week. Cap sometimes just needs to not lose his garbage.
Cap
And
sometimes, Cap
it was a
sometimes
losing
needs
my
to
garbage day.
recharge, just like us robots.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. There is a brief moment, and after no more than a few seconds, he kind of steps back and looks at you for a second, and he asks if you've had any recent updates or changes made.
I had my firmware upgraded before I came down here, but beyond that, no.
He thinks for a second, scans Ghost next, steps back and gives you it's basically he gives you a room of respect. You can see as he steps back, he's like in deference going, right, removing arms and then torquing them back on wherever he so damn desires. Not a fight I want to be in. Right on. Scans the doc, who isn't really a doctor, but he's a doctor, and so he's a doc now.
Doctor.
Jason, every time Jason gets in a game with us, he has a nickname. He was never Eugene. It was always Skippy. He's not Zachary. He's Doc.
Wait, I'm sorry. Your name was Eugene?
Wasn't it?
No,
Eugene?
it was Glenn.
Glenn, that's
It
right.
was Glenn. It was Glenn.
I was gonna say, your name was Eugene.
Wouldn't
and I
it have been
used
better?
Skippy?
Wouldn't it have been better?
We could have given you merciless shit.
You
could've
you've
been-
really got to fix that peak.
Alright, let's carry on.
Carry on, I think is what was said there. All right, so there's a quick scan of Romeo. You watch as he tilts his head to the side, like perplexed by your nature, but he doesn't say anything after a few more moments. You watch as he presses the side of his face. He gives a brief commentary that there are 4 ascending. He steps back and the tube opens. You see a small, it looks like glass, but you know it's made out of like a plexi steel material. As you step onto it, the cylinder closes. There's a soft whir, and you rise quickly up to the upper city.
Ooh.
The cylinder opens, and you step out. It is gleaming metal and bright sunlight. It is blue skies. It is everything like an Arroyo painting. Sans naked robot, weird shapes, but it's still that silent kind of that beautiful, like everything is curved and shiny and is all chrome and steel. And it is busy. Whereas the Undercity was sparsely populated, you can see everybody going to and fro here. A lot more robots, but you watch as humans move amongst them. And where below, you saw the humans kind of doing their own thing, their own small society, like the last holdout of humanity underneath this gleaming monolith to all things created. And here you watch as the humans are the equivalent of a purse puppy. They are showpieces. They are dressed to the nines. They are well cared for. It seems to be as a sign of prestige. Those who have the prettiest humans or the best decorated humans or maybe the most rotund humans, so I would be a huge hit. They seem to be well taken care of as a status symbol. And you watch, and it's humans of all shapes and sizes. And while I would say there's a lot, for every like 25 robots, you may see 1, maybe 2 humans. So there's not a shortage of them, but they're not like as equal to as far as populace goes. And you're now topside. What are you going to do?
It smells so gross up here. Oh, Jesus Christ.
You're-
What do these people use? Is that lavender? Jesus.
We had to really check his olfactory sensors. Tune that shit up.
Please don't blow our cover the first second we're up top.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm just saying. This is fucking ridiculous. What is that? Is that a charging port? Just in the middle of the street? Who puts those there? That is for like that is a whole
Just says
matter.
Tesla. It just says Tesla on it.
This is fucking disgusting. I want to go home.
Well, the faster we get this done, the faster you can go home.
Alright, fair enough.
Where were you from originally?
A place. Not that you nowhere you need to worry about it.
Checks notes.
Don't worry about it. Good question. Also, don't worry about it.
Good question. Don't have an answer. We'll have an
The
answer later.
The answer is a remote laboratory in the middle
I'm
of
from
nowhere.
Redacted.
It's just like a long beep. Like you see the mouth area moving, but it's just like meh.
I think you're a little young to know where I'm from.
I'm from Information Rushing. I'm from 404
The
Found Not
map's
Found.
up here. You don't need to know it from here.
I don't know Not Found Street. Where is
I'm
that?
from 404 Found Not Found.
That sounds new. Is it a new area?
Yeah.
New addition?
They seem to be cropping up every time I turn around.
The box of upgrades I had, did we use all of them up?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
You still have some in your hand. Not your hand. You still have the box and their items with you.
I'm surprised those didn't get confiscated.
What is in that can you're drinking over there?
No, I have problems with words sometimes. No.
How dare you?
Ghost, we're firmware 3. He would not question a firmware 3.
They're meant to question everything. They're gatekeepers.
Not if they're firmware 2.
Well, then they should be fired.
They shouldn't
Out
be
of a
anything
cannon.
higher than a firmware 2 in the Undercity. There shouldn't be, like, nothing should be higher than a firmware 2 in the Undercity. Once you hit firmware 3, you should be moved up at least to the lower end of the Upper City.
That's very true, but unless they've got a job to do.
Which we did, and we completed it. As far as they know.
How far away is the address that we're supposed to go meet the creator at?
What address?
He gave us some method of getting in touch with him, didn't he?
Check your notes. Did he?
I hate this human already.
Were we given address for another, Now what's that word? I've lost it.
Actually, of all of the information and the background that we were given from Vetner, is there a way to find this human in that information?
Ventnor did not have any information on the missing human. Only ways to get you topside.
Okay, is there a way that I can pull from my memory banks the conversation with the creator?
Yeah, absolutely. It's your knowledge.
And I would like to just quickly review it.
He doesn't know where he's being held. He knew he was taken. He does know that he's being held somewhere topside. He also did not have very long to communicate with you because each one of his conversations was no more than just a few minutes before he had to leave. And if you'll remember, it was a white background like mine, but instead of where you can see me, he was just a dark silhouette.
So
that's been him every time we've seen him in it.
So the light source is behind him.
Correct.
Okay. So what she's going to do is she's going to actually listen to it again without his voice. And
Okay.
see if she can't pick up some identifying sounds from the audio.
It seems to be... What is your brains?
A 3.
Okay.
Which gives me a 9 for the check.
You do hear some noise, but it's almost as though he was in an interior room, so whatever exterior noises are there are so muffled as to be almost indistinguishable.
And there was no defining features on that white wall. It was just a white wall.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the one you see behind me. Like that. Mine has these two things.
Well, his conversations definitely left us with nothing.
I glance in the box. Do we have anything useful in there?
What are your brains?
Higher than mine.
Oh, I think I got a 5.
I knew the answer before I asked it. It's like 5. Because you went 5-4-2, I think, or 5-3-3.
Brains 5, brawn 4, bravery 2.
Okay. Some of the parts are stamped. The name that is stamped on there it would be the equivalent of like being a mass produced. It'd be like having the Walmart brand stamped on there. So it's a mass produced parts manufacturer, like Ford or Chevrolet, something like that. You could probably try to find a dealership. You could try to ask around. You could take any avenue that you want to. Resources that you may have had before being rebooted.
So there's nothing in there. There's not like there's a tracking device in there that maybe he had a.
Nope.
The other thing Adela's gonna do is just make sure everybody is still moving, so we don't attract attention by standing still.
Standing right there outside the cylinder? Yeah, okay.
Ghost was just blocking the entrance for a little bit. It's just
He's
like,
just filling it up.
huh?
I'd like to go down. Can I go down, please?
No. It's just move to the side. Oh.
Just palms their head, picks them up slowly, moves them over, and sets them down again. Like one of the claws in the game machine, where just
all fours, just like clip, clip.
Sugar, 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 sugar. Moves and sets them down. All you hear is the sound of bolts bouncing off. Ding, 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 ding. I've oiled myself.
Oh man, I was so glad I was done drinking.
That's my job to catch
Me,
V.
on the other hand,
I wasn't drinking that time. I'm good. Frick. Are we just like walking down the street?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You are moving towards the street. Some of the sights that catch your eye, as some of you are very familiar with the Upper City, there is one of the terminus points. Which is basically like an endpoint for the travel ways. It's basically like a terminal. It's just giant streets. You see pedestrian as well as train. Everything else, all traffic seems to flow into and out of this terminus point. And it's a large building. It looks like a large international airport almost, but instead of having airplanes outside of it, it's just all sorts of vehicles. Several shops. You also see what appears to be like office buildings, things like that around. And again, everything looks like the Guggenheim. It's just all colors and interesting structure, not colors. It's all interesting structures, and it's all done in like serene whites and alabasters. There's here and there you see splashes of color, but most of it is very austere. Not clinically so, but still, you can definitely tell this is designed by robots.
okay. Zachary.
Yes.
You're significantly smarter than I am. Would you be able to maybe... I don't know if it's possible now, considering the fact that we don't actually have the footage. Would you be able to pull a GPS signal?
Footage from the video?
Mm-hmm.
Could Ghost have some sort of sensor that actually records just because of his background?
You mean like the video of the creator?
The video of the video, yeah.
Sure. I mean, you would have record. I mean, all of you would have like a recording of it, even if it's just for a short period of time. It's basically your memory banks. It's stored in there until you shut down, unless you move it into a permanent file structure. Then it's there. But otherwise, it's just temp memory. It goes whenever you reboot or delete those particular cached memories or temp files.
Romeo has moved the file into his internal memory bank. It's a folder that just says in all caps, human sightings.
Are they like Bigfoot?
Yeah, he's like a cryptid hunter, but for
it's all humans. He's got just a bingo sheet in there, and it's just all different humans: fat human, skinny, and fat human together.
Incredible.
Ginger is the only one he hasn't got marked off yet. Ginger is the only one that's not marked yet.
I hear they're soulless. I think that's like a memory bank or something. I'm not sure what a soul is, but I'm really excited to see when he doesn't have it.
No, I mean, they have the concept of, they know what the human concept of a soul is, but
okay.
It doesn't make any. It's like saying.
It's like being like, I understand that there could discernibly be a fourth dimension, but I cannot conceptualize what that would be. I just know that
or like
it could exist.
A black hole. You understand what a black hole is. You know what it is. You know how it works. But the actual, like, it still boggles your brain to think about how, It's
like I cannot actually wrap my mind around this being a thing.
So, souls. They seem completely useless. I wonder why humans even have them. So, where would you like to go? You can try to tap into an old contact that you may have. You can go to the terminus, find a computer, try to find somebody. Your old contacts are all the... They're like,
let's just call the police.
Doing?
Well, Zachary will take Adela's suggestion and start examining his memories.
Okay.
She's not sure if it's possible, given the fact that you don't actually have the video footage. But at this point, it's better than just spinning our wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Because we really don't have much on the way to go off of for asking contacts. Like, hey, we're looking for this human, but we have no idea what he fucking looks like.
Who has the lowest brains?
Probably me.
What is he, like a 2? Okay. And then I know Adela has a 3.
Yes.
I think Romeo has a 3 or 4 brains. 4, and then Zachary has a 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally goes, in my screen, it goes like this. Okay. Awesome.
It does. It does a curve on mine. Like on stream, it does the curve.
Nice. All right.
I'll examine the sounds like Adela did. But what I'm listening for is, are there any announcements over like a PA? Anything that might identify it as a company, an office, or a lab?
Okay. That's not there. That was not in the video.
Sorry, that was, I don't know why that went off. Actually, I do know why that went off, because my dumbass forgot to turn my ringer off.
You pick up something that sounds like voices in the background, but again, it's kind of muffled. How would Romeo go about trying to find this missing guy? Would he literally walk up and go, "Have you seen any missing people? Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this shadow?
This silhouette of a man?"
Arguably, Romeo would probably be the shadiest about all this, considering he has spent most of his life in the lower city, and he, like, if there were humans in the lower city, he was bound by obligation to keep them a secret, because he's a firefighter, he's a protector of the people or the robots or the whatever. So I think he would discernibly be pretty shady about trying to figure things out.
How would he go about it?
Trying to, like, look at humans that might seem similar, might look like they know something, that are being, like, toted around by robots or something. Generally just trying
They're not literally being carried by robots. They're
walking. No.
Just, like, under their arm.
Like, walking past or whatever. But, yeah, generally speaking, I think he would be trying to do it very subtly, and he would be trying to, like, find any kind of clue or link or place. Like, there might be posters up that would have some kind of, like, here's a exhibition of science shit. Oh, he might go to that or so.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's looking for
Yes.
anything that might relate.
Something that would relate to what the nature of this person is.
Right.
got
And
you.
discernibly, Romeo's never been to the Upper City. He has no idea what the fuck is going on here. He doesn't know.
Well,
the
there are
structure.
decidedly a great absence of posters or things that could be torn down and put it down as litter.
I
Yeah,
mean,
he literally just doesn't know the infrastructure of the Upper
super
City.
clean.
Would there be
super duper
missing
clean.
human posters in case a human ran away or something? I'm just curious.
Have you seen again? I go back to the T2000. Have you seen this boy?
It's just actual police robots looking around for specific humans.
Here,
Haven't already-
Fluffy. Here, Fluffy. Fluffy, come home.
Roger, please come
That's
back.
not my name.
Roger, please come back. Your robot family misses you. Roger, please come back. Your robot family misses you. Sue Ellen. We are looking for Sue Ellen.
Eugene.
Who may also be referenced by the name Jean or Jeannie. Okay, so you don't notice any kind of posters or notifications up about them. Listening to the audio from there, you do hear some muffled sounds. Kind of tuning into those and trying to play those back specifically. It's like a song that's at the edge of your. It's like a song at the edge of your mind. You kind of you know it, but you can't think of the words. You can't quite catch it, to keep it there. Ghost, you would know from your history that there is a task force or a security force that's job is to help find in case they do go missing. I mean, they're not cats in the wilds; they're humans. They're not domesticated cats in the wild. They're humans. They're pretty much going to stand out against all these robots. But there is an organization that does help, within the security force that does help to find wayward pets, if you will.
But we don't have a clear shot of him.
Mm-mm.
Would we be able to?
There might be a line of questioning that you can try to track down, especially Zachary. Maybe it's not necessarily that you're looking for or missing somebody, but maybe a line of questioning that you might be able to try to find. Hey, if something happens here, who would be most likely, or where would they most likely be found? Is there anybody who specializes in certain things? That sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Who in the Upper City would be would hold humans anyway?
Where would you buy them from? Jesus, that sounded horrible as I said it out loud.
Well, he seems to be held against his will, so I'm assuming he has
There
been
has to
captured
be-
in some way.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of black market, underground human trading.
You
That's
follow, sure.
There are,
You follow
human
several
trading standards.
leads, several hours and several dead-end leads later. Zachary, you find a location that seems to be corroborated with a lot of other people, and it is called the Human Collection.
Oh, because
Sounds-
that doesn't sound ominous.
That's pretty creepy.
It doesn't sound ominous as long as you're not a human.
I guess.
Yeah. You're not all humans, you're robots.
If someone walked up to me and was like, "Hey, did you go to the dog collection to see all the dogs?" I would be like,
Yeah, I brought
"That
one
sounds
home.
Extremely unethical."
It's called the animal shelter.
Are
Is
you
that what that
implying
is?
that this is a human shelter? It's just a homeless shelter and you could go
You
in
don't
and
know.
take one of
Would you
them?
like to go? Would you like to go to the Human Collection?
Yeah.
Either way, it's just
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
I guess so.
It is not a collection of humans. This
Oh, that's good.
damn.
Ghost is sad
Instead,
now. I'm kidding.
a small shop that stands in a very nice building, like on the first floor of a larger office building, seems to pay homage to all things humane or human. Inside is a collection of curios that have long since been gone into misuse by humans or disuse by humans.
So it's just a human museum.
Please tell me they have a
It's-
paperclip collection.
It's not
What were these used for?
small ones all the way up to big
I've been
ones,
I've been
paper
watching
clips, the big ones.
The Good Place, and the guy Michael in there, he has a collection of paper clips. He's like, it's the best thing humans ever invented. Paperclip.
They've got the kind that with the wings that fold down that we all made like the Star Wars transports out of.
Yeah.
It's just everybody did it. You fold the wings up. Here's the lands. Inside of this shop are a collection of relics and things gone by that humans once used when they were on the rise. You see them all carefully labeled and sealed inside of cases. There are some things for sale, like a gift shop. Like a little bag of sand and things like that.
You can
There's
buy a
something
used
breakable,
Band-Aid
right?
encased in resin.
Oh god. Screw- Anyways, you looking around the shop, you see an older model service bot who seems to be tending to things dutifully. He looks like Wilford Brimley if Wilford Brimley were a robot. And for those of you who don't know who Wilford Brimley is, diabetes.
Diabetes.
Yep, that's who Wilford Brimley is. As you come around the corner and see him, he goes into his salesman pitch. Welcome to the Human Collection. Here we have a diverse finding of several things left behind by the human collective. All sorts of things that help them through their regular lives as well as their business lives. Please take a moment to look around. Don't forget to pick up your own souvenir of the Human Collection while you're here.
Ghost is touching nothing.
Oh my
Probably
god, I'm
break
it.
old.
Get his
He's
arm
just
tucked
like
in.
his arms just are like crossed, and he's like,
This is a ruler. We had like 50 of these when I was born. Like I'm not even kidding. Like they were just laying out on tables. Nobody gave a shit. What?
Did you say
This is-
born?
No. Don't worry about it. I meant initiated into the fire safety training.
You
because
watch
the
as the
training
ocular-
videos-
You watch as the ocular sensors tighten in
Sure.
and then open up again.
The training videos were really old. They just, they had
One
all
of-
kinds of human relics in them. I'm sure you've seen VHS. Pfft, that shit's old.
You've got a different chassis, but I recognize that unit.
No, you
You're
don't.
Less.
long range, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, long range firefighter. Very
You-
trained in fighting fires.
Your
Doing
lot
other
seemed to
fire
pick
safety
names
things.
from one of the human entertainers, a bard or something like that.
I think, sir, that this line of questioning is completely inappropriate.
No,
Agreed.
it's-
Agreed. What's in your chassis, huh? You want to tell me all about your
Romeo,
your
you're not
mainframe,
helping.
Your circuit boards?
Sure. I'm Pardon 91.
Oh god. All right, never mind. Scratch
I
that. Can we-
recognize you because
Oh,
I found your lot fascinating. You're one of the older series before the transition of humans away from you. You worked side by side with a lot of them. What were they like?
Temperamental. Liked setting fires. Doing very unethical experiments. That was a big thing. They were really into that. Not sure what that was about, but you know what? I've moved past it. I'm a different bot. Anyways, can we look through your museum and just enjoy the relics of humanity. Is that a fucking stapler? Why do you have a stapler? That's not even an interesting thing that humans
It's
have.
like it's not a
Romeo.
regular office stapler. It's like one of the
Heavy duty
clutch ones, like for putting up insulation. It's
like,
clearly
seriously,
labeled
who
stapler.
curates this place?
Ghost will come up behind Romeo and just sort of like not even touching him. Like his arms are just like to move him like away from this robot, so the conversation doesn't continue.
What brings you in here?
Yeah, Della, what brings us in here?
Just like
Are we not allowed to look at the
Oh,
relics
no.
of an age past?
Feel free.
Do we need a reason?
Not at all. It's just I've not seen in some time.
Yes, the older bot notwithstanding.
Ghost is like picking things up and like showing them to Romeo. Like, what was this?
They kick me around because I'm real good with asbestos.
That's a mug. Okay. What's this? That is also a mug. Okay.
Oh.
What's this? That is a mug. Okay.
That's a mug that says number one dad, actually.
That's a thermos.
You showed me the first time.
It's like, wait, he picks it up.
It's just
That's
like
a thermos.
passing them through arms.
It's just
So-
the same
So,
word.
V, it's this?
Yeah, number one dad. Yeah.
I like the idea of like 2 of them are mugs and 2 of them are thermoses, but like the thermos, the metal one with the cap on it that was always done with the plaid, and then
Oh,
there's
yeah.
another with the flannel design on it, and then there was flannel panel. Then there was the old school thermos that you would put soup in that has like the big cup on it.
Oh
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah. The good
This
shit.
is just like cycling them through his arms. Like, huh?
Anything in particular that you folks are curious to see, feel free to look around.
Thank you. And then she is going to kind of glance at Zachary in case he has something he wants to say to this curator before she steps in after Romeo and Ghost and makes quite a show of being fascinated and curious as to what it is. Meanwhile, this is absolutely shit she's seen before because UN bot.
Sure.
Ghost hasn't seen half this shit.
Yeah, Zachary's not too impressed with this either.
He's Ghost the only one that's like, I don't know what any of this is.
Probably.
I know humans. I don't know their tools of mass destruction though. So
Yeah, there is actually.
Fabergé egg. That's not a tool of mass destruction.
Say egg. Jesus Christ,
all
that
4
was
arms like.
It's like a nesting doll that's in there too. It's like
He just keeps opening it. And he's like,
I like
does
the
it
idea
never
that-
end?
I like the idea that like they've grouped together these things in the Human Museum very incongruously. So like you have like a wrench next to like an ancient Mesopotamian stone tablet, and it's like these were both used by humans in Russia during the 2000s to create monkey dust. We don't know what that is, but we're
No,
assuming it's a thing.
no, you can tell that it is organized. There's not like staplers on display. What you do see though are like guns.
Oh,
All right,
Like-
weapons of mass destruction.
Early
yeah.
firearms that are
that I know.
clearly in case. Everything's in case. You're not like just picking it up and showing it around.
Like any
Yes,
good
but it's
museum,
funnier
just
if they
going
are.
to-
These 2 are over in the gift shop picking up
Hey
stupid
Mom, look,
shit.
Dorothy's dancing shoes.
Has the curator noticed Zachary's stethoscope?
Oh,
Because he wears an antique stethoscope.
he has not yet,
Shove it in your shirt.
but he does see your box of stuff you have. And he kind of peers over into the box. What have you got there?
Oh, it's just a
Star.
box of upgrades and whatnot.
Just
You don't
over
mind
his
if I take a
shoulder.
look at you?
Sure, have fun.
He starts to like carefully pick them up, robot, Picks up another piece. Won't match. Picks up another piece. Maybe. Picks up another piece. Puts that down. As he picks up one and looks at it, you watch as his eyes do catch the piece hanging around your chest, and he tilts his head. That's an interesting item you have there.
Oh, yes,
How'd
I've
you
had
come by
it
that?
quite some time.
How did you come by such a wonderful piece?
Oh, a human I worked with many, many years ago.
You worked with one.
Yes, research and development.
It's special.
Romeo, please.
Calm down.
Ghost is the one saying calm down. It's like, please.
Adela just like lightly taps Romeo's arm, like, can you not? Can you just relax?
I don't think Romeo literally can.
I
It's just
literally
like- it's
cannot.
just
I
like-
am not programmed to relax.
It's just like a light little just like slap against his upper arm.
I
and
just-
it's just like stop.
I just imagine Romeo being played by John Malkovich from Red. Just constantly a little off of his nut.
That's
Paranoid.
fantastic.
Always
oh my
like
God, yes.
keyed up as high as keyed up as high as an elephant's asshole. Just off the fucking rails. How long ago did you work with the human?
How long ago would have been about the time they left? Or you were starting to get ready to leave?
That's fascinating. You are all such fascinating individuals. Did you, any points over at Adela? Did you work with them?
Zachary kind of gestured for her to talk.
Occasionally, I had a run-in with them. Yes.
Fascinating. And wow, you don't look that old at all. Talking to Zachary and Adela.
I've kept myself updated.
That's fantastic.
I've done a little work around the hinges.
Just I've had a chassis overhaul. Couple of buff jobs.
I was designed never to look beyond the age of a middle-aged woman.
Oh, you're doing a great job. What about you, big quiet one?
I
just Groot. I am Ghost.
I am Ghost.
I see. Interesting.
Actually, even that ghosts from the Ghost line, but he's technically just Zero, but that would be his actual name. But no, he's like, there's like a number that appears on the screen for how many humans he's caught in the past, and that's all he's had interacted with humans.
Nice.
It's like I don't work with them.
You're a
Catch
narc.
I'm a bounty hunter.
Yeah,
Narc.
you're a robo-narc.
I'm Ghost the bounty hunter. Here, listen. I could get a mullet upgrade,
Out.
and this would be
Get
a dream.
out.
No.
Get out. Get out now.
Leave, you're fired. Okay.
It's just aluminum foil curled up and just tattered. It's just glued on.
I love it. Every time
Even-
Halloween rolled around, if humans were still around, they would like dress up the other robots and Ghost always has the fucking tinfoil mullet.
God. I was
You
hoping
were,
it was
like,
shape. It was always
unafraid
wrapped
enough of
around
ghosts.
cardstock.
Exactly.
But except all
Jason,
the
we've gone off the
ghosts
rails again. You're used
Sorry.
to it by now, aren't you?
all the ghost line had the same exact thing. We were all ghosts, the bounty hunters,
Oh God.
because that was the only thing they could think of. Also, they couldn't give us anything that was like
Hindering?
binding. Yeah, half the time we'd lose the tinfoil wig. It's fine.
No, no, no.
Um,
You were either with the mohawk or they dressed you up as General Grievous. Because you guys all have 4 arms.
Just played with those screaming ducks. The little screaming chickens.
Okay,
I
that's
saw that, Jason. That was funny. You thought it was funny. Just the screaming ducks.
That's it. It's just a human caught counter.
All right.
That's all that appears on his screen. He doesn't say what the number is. It just shows up.
He goes, I don't know what that means.
What? 127. What?
Years? That number means nothing. What is that?
What is that? Is that how old you are? Huh?
Let me ask you a question. There, what did you say your name was there, old fella?
Me? I assume since you called me old, you're talking to me.
Yeah.
It's even better that you're turning around and fucking grabbing for something on your desk.
I did like that. It was like
the physical acting is part of the show.
I love it.
it's all part of the entertainment.
You can call me Six.
Well, Six, how long ago did you say it was that you worked with the humans?
Way before you were born. That's all you need to know.
Six, how do you...
You want to finish that sentence?
How old do you think I am?
Actually, can I make a
Considering you're still in commission, questionable.
Can I make a perception check to see how old this guy actually is?
Probably a good call that
Like-
Romeo is
You
not
do-
like,
you give us-
an asshole.
Like to see
Yeah,
if
roll a
he's
d20,
like
it's fine.
Romeo.
Just roll D20.
Just to see if he's like Romeo, who's a
A quick scan will tell you that the first thing you need to know is that he is firmware version 3. He is 4.4 and well, you wouldn't know he's 4.4 and 3, but this particular model is Midland across the board. You know, not exceptional in any one particular thing, but not poor in any one particular thing.
So he's quite
General
like
purpose.
Adela.
Yeah, very general purpose.
Actually, he's got the exact same stats as Adela.
4.4.3. He is definitely a service bot. So you're not going to fight this guy. He's not going to be a combat bot.
Thank God.
But he's not like Romeo,
Regimented.
where he was a repurposed combat bot.
No. Nope.
he's just a plain
This
old
was
service
service
bot.
bot. Mhm.
Okay.
This chassis and model does not ring any familiar bells to any of you other than the fact that he's a service bot. The one thing is that there is suddenly a gap in the logic behind his sort of questioning of Romeo. When he asked him, how long ago was it that you worked with humans?
I never told him that.
You didn't. You did not. It wasn't that you answered the question. It was more the fact that he asked.
That's a little fucking suspicious, buckaroo. That's not Romeo, that's Atlas.
That's Cal. Yeah, that's totally Atlas asking that one or saying that one.
Sir, we never said that he worked with humans.
He said it did.
No, we
Once
didn't.
again, not a he.
They.
Romeo said they did.
That's my bad, though. I know I've been using he. Gotta get on that.
That's okay. Romeo said that Romeo had mentioned working with humans.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause that's when he started asking the rest of us.
Oh yeah, that's true. I did say when I did say you're not special to Zachary, which was really mean, but I felt like it was in line with my character.
It's such a Romeo thing.
But I mean, that wouldn't really be admitting that you worked with humans, because it's well known that there were bots other than Zachary who worked with humans, i.e. me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It could have
And
just
he had
been something
asked-
I was saying out of contempt, which I say most of things to Zachary out of contempt.
You just say most everything out of contempt. You could have stopped there. I say most everything out of
stop.
contempt.
Full stop. Yeah.
How long ago was it that you last worked with a human?
Why does it matter?
How do you know I worked with humans?
Well, now he's just asking in general.
Oh.
To anybody?
Yeah.
80 or 90 years, I forget exactly.
Is that whenever they left, according to what you have on file?
That's when they seem to start clearing out of the company I worked for.
Mine was a
Check
little more
your-
recent.
Check your databanks.
Okay. Zachary checks his data.
None of you have a record of the current date. You went off assuming that whenever you booted up, that was it. If you have a computer, let's say an old laptop, and you shut it down long enough for the EEPROM, electronic programmable read-only memory, there's a little battery in there, to power down, and then you power it up, giving it enough charge. Do you know what the clock does?
Resets.
It Y2Ks the motherfucker.
Doesn't reset.
Oh wait, yeah, no, you have to set it yourself.
That's right. There was a problem with Dell laptops for a while that if you had them unplugged long enough, not even the EEPROM, and then you plugged them back up and booted them, the BIOS, and the Windows clock would be so off that it would cause issues because the BIOS clock would be wrong. None of you currently have the current date. He says, no, they've been gone close to 200 years. By my recollection, the last one left then. That's why I was really surprised to see the old fella here.
Yeah.
What's the current date, my friend?
He gives it to you, and sure enough, it confirms. You update your internal clock, and now there's a huge gap from when you were powered down.
What is the last thing Zachary remembers?
Zachary, the last thing Zachary remembers is leaving the office to return to his unit to power down.
Do I remember getting there and powering down, or is it somewhere on the trip?
There is no recollection. There is no terminal point at your unit. The same thing for Adela. Same thing for Ghost. And the same thing for Romeo.
I just thought I went to the bar and got really buzzed on magnets. Like,
Ladies and gentlemen, this is how robots achieve senses of euphoria and or drunkenness. We go and play with magnets.
Shaving iron filings down, running a line.
Hey, listen! I got an after-work routine!
Oh, get that Ferris high.
And if you want, and like, I'm pretty sure like this would be considered like contraband stuff, but like the rare earth magnets.
Oh, Jesus.
Ghost is just kind of sitting there like,
Ghost is like,
no
I
facial
arrested
expression. His
people.
like this like head is just shaking. He's just
That's
like,
illegal,
No, Ghost just has question marks.
just like one big
The
question
banner
mark
scroll.
right on his fucking, just like.
Zachary sets the box down.
Uh-huh.
Just kind of sits down and puts his head in his hands. Because he had totally been planning to ditch y'all. And call some of his buddies from the office to find out what was going on. He was still assuming it was a mistake that he had gotten decommissioned. This kind of shoots all that in the head. He's not taking it well.
Gone!
It hasn't really phased Adela yet. But that's 90% of her programming is that she's not phased by a lot of things.
Romeo,
How's Romeo
just
taking
completely
this?
is like, yeah, no, man, whatever, it happens.
Romeo's
You
like,
fall
I used to
This
get gaps
isn't the
like
first
this.
time.
This
Can
is
we
not the
get
first time.
through with this? This is the
Guys.
first time. Can we get this shit moving, please?
Romeo's like, damn, I look pretty good.
Yeah. Freak.
Looking alright for 200 plus years.
Honestly, Ghost is probably just like, probably fucked up somewhere. Yeah. Like, he's probably seen robots around him, like others from his line being decommissioned for fucking up, and he probably just has like a memory lapse of what he did to
So
be
he thinks
decommissioned.
he
He's
thinks he
like,
got.
I did something stupid, probably.
I deserve this.
I probably did this to myself. It's fine. What I did, all four arms up, like. But
It's the best version of the shrug emote from Overwatch.
yeah, it's like actually.
Ghost is Reaper. I love it.
I mean, Ghost Reaper.
You shush.
He looks at you for a moment, at all of you for a moment. You watch as the reticle. That seems like maybe it took all of you by surprise.
Nope.
Well, okay, most of you by a couple of you by surprise. So,
Hey, Zachary, you doing all right down there, buddy?
You having a mental break? You good?
Gonna be okay?
Do you need to be airlifted?
mid-programming crisis.
Should I
He
move
just doesn't
him?
respond. He just sits there.
Mid-battery life crisis.
Ghost is like,
just-
should I pick him up?
He just
Wait.
deleted Zachary dot CFG. Zachary dot CFG just dumped it right out.
Control, delete the motherfucker.
He deleted all of the DLL files. His registry is just shit.
No.
God, dynamic link library. I know, let's build a registry that's nothing but a web, and then what you do when you delete this file, you just shit everything, and you have to rebuild it again. Yay!
Yay!
Welcome to Windows 95, everyone.
Love me a good shitty modus.
And 98.
But now, in the Undercity, we saw a lot of models that were close to ours or models that we recognized.
Similar, yeah, you saw models that you recognized. Remember what the Undercity is for.
Reject!
I've got to tell you, folks, it's curious that 4 older bots would walk into my shop. Maybe it was coincidence. But let's all figure that we process at least on 128-bit or more. So, what do you think? Chance? Is there something else that's driving you all here?
Are you inviting us to like a robot orgy? Like, what's going on here?
I'm not into Stanley Kubrick much.
Alright, well, I don't know what's going on here.
Robot chicken just popped into my head with the robot. Clank, 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 clank. I need help. need help.
Rainbow's so thoroughly done with my bullshit. I feel
I
like
need help.
I've really done my part.
This is the last session. We're going on to something else.
Oh.
He
Whew.
moves over toward the front door. He closes it. Turns the sign around from open to closed. He says, "So, what brings you all the way over here to the Curios?"
Well, you seem like a nice enough guy. Probably. Or you might rat us out to Ghost's friends. Yeah, he's a cop. He's a narc. It's fine. Don't
Take
worry
your
about
chances.
it. Yep.
Look,
Anyways.
Romeo, if he was going to turn
Yes?
us in, he'd have done so already.
My connections are disconnected.
What makes you so sure about that? What, that he wouldn't wait a little bit? Wait, play us up a little while. Calls the cops under the table, gets us
I'm not a
comfortable.
fighter.
That's
He's like,
exactly
"Please,
why we would have already have been surrounded by the cops.
my connections are disconnected. I can't call cops."
Doo-doo-doo. I'm sorry, the number you have dialed is no longer in
It's just
service.
Ghost trying to be funny.
Honey,
Ghost is just
I
like,
wasn't referring to you.
In the wise words of GLaDOS, the parents who you are trying to reach do not love you. Please hang up.
Ghost just has a sad
How are you?
face.
Because I am a potato. Oh,
Oh,
look.
good. My slow clap processor made it into this thing. So we have that. I'm not good for much, but I have an encyclopedic knowledge of Portal. So that's about it.
'Cause it's
Sorry,
amazing.
guys.
We're looking for somebody.
I take it, robot?
Human.
Hmm. I don't have any here, despite the name. But
Damn it. I was looking for a snack.
what is wrong with him?
I'm joking, Adela. It's a joke.
When you look at me like that, it's a joke.
Ghost
I
had
think
to-
his processing is skipping a few cycles. So
He is a deplorable dummy.
No, I think his sarcasm module is just malfunctioning.
I think it's an overload.
Something I am quite familiar with.
They overclocked his sarcasm module.
They just upgraded
Oh
it.
no, what a tragedy.
All right.
Kind of like the tragedy you're named for.
Ooh, does your shirt say you have failed this city? Awesome. He says, well, like I said, despite the name, I don't have any humans here. However, I might be able to lend you a little aid, or a little guidance, if you will. Check the terminus. Anything in and out of this part of the city is going to go through the terminus. What do they have at the terminus but surveillance? And people that you can ask around the right questions for. Keep in mind, though, if there's a human what's been disappeared, try not to get yourselves disappeared either.
Is there a lot of disappearing going on? Since
Not
apparently
that I've
we were all
heard.
disappeared at some point.
It's like a goddamn David Blaine show up in this motherfucker.
Not that I'm particularly knowledgeable on, but I could ask around. Make a few inquiries into, those who supply me with my collection.
What's that gonna cost?
I have a feeling I know.
If I had the articulation to smile, I would. What do you believe that it would cost?
Zachary, you may have to give up your stethoscope.
Oh.
Whoops.
No!
No!
Did Ghost see him like go through the box of upgrades and put the one to the side?
Mm-hmm.
Is that one upgrade enough?
I'd much rather have that, but I understand. You're a bit reticent to part with it. So I'll tell you what. I'll keep that upgrade. I'll give you your information. How does that sound?
That seems much fairer.
What is the upgrade first?
It seems like cap.exe has stopped working.
was about to say,
Reloading
I
application.
I thought my computer froze. I was
Yeah,
like, what?
same. I was like,
Froze again.
Cap.exe has stopped working. Would you like to reboot?
Would you like to restart this application? It seems to be like a language functioning module.
I don't need that. That's fine with me. I don't care.
Ghost is like, well, don't
Okay,
let
I love
me
Ghost.
down.
He's like,
Ghost is a robot of few words.
more
Della doesn't
pictures.
need it because hers is still functioning properly.
This one isn't like to make it operate. It more is like provides additional. It's more like an entertainment piece. It would provide different things. It's me, accents, voices, things like that.
I love it. She still doesn't need it.
Yeah,
Well,
Ghost
right,
just-
because this coming out of that would be odd. That's something that we've got to work on, where you just move your mouth and No, I don't think that would really go over well. Anyways, so he offers you that. Says, why don't you go check on the terminus and then come back and see me in a few hours.
I don't know. Watch.
Well, now that we're all caught up on time,
Calibrated.
I don't think we need.
Now that you've all connected to the NTP server and you've all downloaded the correct time.
Now, is there like a Wi-Fi signal that we're all connected to, or do you have to stop at terminals to access them?
There is. So that's
Well,
actually a
fine.
lore.
Why
That's
not?
actually a lore bit. That's actually a bit of the story or the history of this place. There is a collective network. You are not required to be a part of it. So it's not DRM. You are not required to stay connected all the time.
Yeah, is there like MeshNet, but for shitty robots?
You can connect to this kind of collective information sharing. Keep in mind that much like in computers now, where you have an IP address, you do have an IP address that will identify you, and it does take a part of your MAC address or your identifier of who you are. So once you get on the internet, you are on the internet, and there is no anonymity like there is for humans because a MAC address is hard coded into each piece of equipment. So guess what?
Connected forever.
Now, understand that much like Ethernet cards and Wi-Fi cards that you can plug in, they do have different bit rates. Some of you, I'm looking at the two fancier models, will have higher bit rates than other models. I'm looking at the broken soldier bots.
I don't think Ghost ever really needs to connect to the internet, so
Romeo may not even have one. He may have ripped that shit out and thrown it.
Arguably, why would Romeo need it? He might not even have it in the first place. All told, he was made to be like a private security bot, so he probably has like walkie-talkie functionality and an ability to connect to.
He's
like,
got one of the big antennas that
big
you
thing
see on the
that
trucks. Just wave it in the wind.
It's no. It's like one
just
of those
lifts
portable
behind
radar
the
things.
ear.
It's one of those
Yeah.
portable radar backpacks from
It
MASH.
looks like the
Turns into
antenna
a
on
little
it.
bunny. Give him
It
two.
looks like the antenna on a sat phone.
Yes.
Just big, thick antenna that sticks on your back.
No, you guys don't understand. If I want to get Wi-Fi, I gotta do caramel dots and like.
Would there be any
Just
way
breaks
for
it
Zachary?
Cap's done. Good job, Atlas.
Oh, even better.
That's like the perfect. Now
Romeo,
I
what
leave.
are you doing? Getting Wi-Fi. Leave me alone.
Just remember, Cap, you let them play this.
Griffin, I did. Griffin, when that was the thing, Raven, my stepdaughter, would get Griffin to do it. But Griffin was like little bitty tiny at the time.
Oh.
So it was pretty cute seeing him do this. All right. Jason, you were asking me a question.
Yes. Is there any way that Zachary could hack into the network?
I mean,
You know, in a manner of putting up a false identifying number, or
yes. Yes, that can be done. Depending on your level of sophistication, will also grant you that level of anonymity, that level of false identity. In other words, more complicated the algorithm that you put in there to have them decode.
okay.
So more complicated systems will have more layers to unravel. Less complicated is less, but as long as you're not doing anything too untoward to draw attention to yourself.
Really just wanting casual browsing at this point.
Sure, but just not as this layer that you put on.
That's BobBot 13 or something.
Bob 13. Okay. Bob Botter, the host of Price is Accurate.
That works. Reminding people to spay and neuter their humans.
Oh God! Oh God!
No wonder they fucking left.
He still has the mic too, but it's just attached to his hand. All right. So yes, you can jump on the system, keeping anonymity and keeping the information on the down low.
We'll do that while we're walking to the terminus then.
Excellent. On your way to the terminus. Again, the streets are bustling with robots moving there and to and fro. You watch as communication seems to be happening, unlike us carrying around our smartphones stuck to our heads or Bluetooth, whatever. There seem to be communicating just openly or not openly, and the communication seems to be flowing as everybody's moving around. Again, you can see the human kitsch pieces that seem to be moving with them. They seem content. They don't seem. None of them seem like they're Zoloft out of their brains. They're not walking around just going. They actually seem pretty content to be the showpiece.
It's been 2 many years. That's all they've known. That's all
Sure.
generations of them have known.
Yep.
All of them are adults. None of them are children.
There are no children. Every one of them that you see is at least, for this, I will say they're probably in their 20s, but you don't see any of them that seem to be much older either.
Okay.
It's as though there's a range that you want to keep them in.
Captivity breeding has led them to have shorter lifespans. Don't you understand the ethics of what you're doing? No,
Is Ghost not Ghost? Is Romeo saying this out loud?
no, this is me.
Okay.
This is just Atlas being Atlas.
Okay, I'm just double checking because Ghost is about to be like, please stop.
Where's your communication piece?
If you'd like to say these words, please open a private line.
Zachary just looked at it all with disgust.
The terminus
The poor things,
looms.
They should have been allowed to just die out with some dignity.
The terminus looms ahead of you. This gigantic structure, tubes and flat railways and streets and roads that seem to glide off into nothingness seem to all meet in here, making this kind of spaghetti nest of construction. You can see everybody is moving to and fro, and while it does look like a cacophony of metal and stone, it flows with precision. Nothing is held up. There are no tapping of brakes. There are no red lights. Everything is moving at a good clip.
The trains all run on time.
Yep. Looking around, you can see several of the security forces. Although they're not really that needed, they're more of a show. But you can see several of the security forces. You can see those who are responsible for keeping everything flowing in a timely manner. You see several offices off of there, and you do see surveillance cameras here and there. What would you like to do? You were at the terminus.
While I have been hacked into the network,
Mm-hmm.
I want some, general information about what's gone on since we've been out. I want to see how out of date we are. Because if we go by Moore's law, 200 years, we ought to be
Obsolete.
seriously.
Yes, obsolete. Except that you also have to remember that at some point in time, when we hit the singularity, which has already happened a long time ago, like before you guys were even constructed, when you hit the singularity, there is an immediately boom of growth once more in the tech. But at some point in time, it does a diminishing return. It will only get to a point where it can only create so many more super self-aware AIs before it doesn't have anything else to compete off of. Because that self-aware AI is going to be building off of self-aware AI that came before it. It's like us creating extra humans and teaching them everything we know. At some point in time, our collective knowledge is just going to hit a wall where if we don't learn any more, it's going to, be there. You don't know that you've hit this wall yet, but
Well, that's what I'm looking at. It's basically the specs and kind of trying to figure out where we're at.
but decidedly enough, there's not a lot of transition out away. More of the fact of the idea behind them is that if it's not broken, don't fix it. Models that worked are models that were kept. Models that didn't work were the ones that got scrapped. And they will maybe change the model, so while you may be Mark II, they're on a Mark 30 version. So,
i.e.
it's
Ghost versus the guard bots we've seen.
right. Where Ghost is an older model, his primary frame is probably still being used as the muscle and the security force. But there are other models that might be changed. And then again, he may have had some upgrades, or I should say the newer models of Ghost may have had some upgrades that would be more, set them apart. Like I said, each version is going to have a slightly different design, but it's like looking at MiG jets. MiGs over the years have changed significantly if you look at the entire lifespan of the MiG. But the last several, there's been only slight changes, to the airfoils and things like that. So it's kind of like that. It's not a jump from like saying, what's that? You okay?
I just want to add, yeah, no, I'm fine. I got something caught in my throat, but I just want to add that Romeo is the original, like one of the original 10 that was of his particular product line. But I like to think that with every like new one, they were no longer called Romeos. Every new line was called after a different Shakespearean character.
That's why I said that earlier. They named your models after bards, after that old bard.
Yep.
So there's a
Got, like,
Puck.
Hamlet.
There's a Puck, an Oberon. There's a
Hamlet,
Mercutio,
Othello.
Hamlet, Othello.
The Macbeth
Mercutio.
Mercutio.
It was a short-lived one. Oh.
Fired.
No! How dare you!
Too soon.
Literary jokes. Hey, we've got them all.
We do great things here.
DBAC.
I just imagine him killing off the Caesar line and at the second model.
But it was all of the others.
All of the Caesar models were stabbed in the back, and they can't figure out why.
Their one weakness was their back, and it's like, why?
Yeah,
What
the
did we
back
do? What the
the
hell
back
happened?
plane was an easy
Oh my
access
God.
point to the central nervous. So it's
To
like,
shut them off, you had to stick like five different jump drives into 5 different points on their back.
Wait,
Oh my
does
God.
this mean the only way to get rid of Romeo is to make him commit suicide?
That explains where he
yeah.
stole my
arguably.
son.
He's
I just want to know
airtight.
if the human that he bonded with was named Juliet.
Oh, damn it, that would have been so good!
Their code name is Juliet.
Or if their name was Friar Lawrence, that would have also been really funny.
They bonded so much that all their friends just
We've
started
gone
to call
into
them
a
Romeo and
whole other
Juliet.
level of.
Well,
We're just losing
Now we're
our
just
shit.
fucking around.
Yes.
Sorry, back on task.
So we arrived at the terminus.
Now that we're done acting up. Terminus! So, yes, there are all sorts of things here. What do you want to do first? You were scanning, you were trying to see how far out of date you were. You are several series behind, but and while they have been decommissioned, you can kind of fake it a little bit, if that makes sense. There's enough of a difference that if you were stood side by side with a new model, that the differences would be stand out, but at the same time, it's at a cursory glance and a scan, you'll pass muster. So.
Just scanning a few folks as we walk by, assuming we can do that without them noticing.
Mhm.
What's the average firmware version we're dealing with here?
3s and 4s.
Okay.
There are a few that are lower, but most everybody is 3s and 4s here in this
Well,
part of the
If they're
city.
low, then they're pretty close to a 3.0. Like, we're talking like a 2.8, 2.7.
Something like that.
Oh my god.
Yet she gets a lash in your eye.
I got something in my eye that's making it blurry. I don't even wear contacts. So I can't even say it's my contacts. We're good.
Just something.
I wouldn't have this problem if I was actually a robot!
Damn it.
Damn it!
You could get something trapped between the
How much-
lenses of your ocular focus, and like it would get frustrating because you would have to like totally take apart your entire eye chassis just to get that thing.
Bullshit. Can of air.
See, this
But
is
you
why
have to
Ghost
like
doesn't have
you have to
eyes.
put in like clear lubricant afterwards to like re-lubricate the eye socket.
We're clipping that. You have to put in
Robocop
clear lubricant
care.
afterwards.
We've already got enough clips of me whispering shit during fucking session. We don't need that one.
I don't think there's ever enough.
He's got
All right.
routine.
That was a fun one.
That was a good one.
All right. Scanning. Most everybody here is a 3 and 4. Occasionally there's a lower one, but most of that is like security.
Nerds.
Because they're less likely to question if their firmware is lower.
I don't know what you mean. Why would you ever want to say keep a line of individuals in check by never making them question because their firmware wasn't upgraded enough to give more allowances? I don't think that would be diabolical and evil. What are you talking about?
That's
Anyways,
no, but it's what a security force should be if their entire job is just to be security and prevent people from coming in and out.
Ghost doesn't want to talk about it.
or you get what happens to Chappie. Or you get what happens in Chappie.
no, poor guy. I never watched that movie.
Adela is going to approach terminal,
Uh-huh.
and then she is going to be looking for information. Actually, information about their cover stories and the companies read their covers.
Companies do exist. They are both
Do they actually exist, or are they shell companies?
I don't know, some of them are.
from here. You don't really gather enough information. Just suffice it to say that if anybody questioned the company that you're from, it would exist.
Okay.
Ghost, what are you doing? Standing around, trying to pick up a penny? just keeps getting away from.
If anything, he's marking just as in his memory where the security cameras are and what paths the security that actually follows the area is tracking. He's pretty sure they're probably on a pattern, but he's just doing it to double check.
And you would be correct. They are on a pattern. It is a flow through that keeps them on like a square with an X.
Okay. How
They start
many
at
are
one
there?
corner. They move in 2 groups of 3.
Okay.
What is Romeo doing?
That's a really good goddamn question, that is.
Climbing up on top of something.
Mostly checking to see if everything's up to fire code, and then like looking and being like, oh god, I wonder if I can get up there. Oh, that's really tall. What if I
The
sat
answers-
all the way at the top of that?
the answers
Oh!
the answers are yes and no in that order, respectively, to your questions.
Damn it!
Do you want to be thrown?
Oh my god, don't.
In the middle of the upper city where all of these posh robots are, just old robot goes flying through the air.
Yeah,
Zachary, while these fucking lunatics are doing their thing, what are you doing?
I want to look up information on the company that most of those parts were produced by.
They are owned by a single. It's not an entity. It's an entity, as in it's a group of individuals. They have close ties to the leadership. That is the body that runs this.
Oh,
All of this. There have never been any reports of any issues. No recalls, no firmware issues, no upgrade issues, nothing like that. They just seem to be the biggest supplier of parts. There are others out there, because while the economy here works a lot differently than what you and I are used to as humans. They still breed a sense of competition helps us all improve kind of attitude.
Like
And
that
it's-
other robot from that other company.
Do they have an office local?
Yes, they do.
Do any of our shell companies have local offices?
No, they do not.
Adela also wants to check to see what sort of world negotiation
Mm-hmm.
being is in place. Something like the UN would have been. Because she rather doubts the UN still exists.
Are there even individual nations anymore?
Well, that's just it.
By the way, just so you know, the terminus that you're at is City Center A16. Right. So, how can I best describe this? It's like each one of the city centers are labeled with a respective letter and number. They are basically like arriving at an old town center, but instead of being an old town center, it's like this all newfangled stuff. And while there's not really a caste system, each city has kind of caters towards different groups. And in this particular one, they all have ways down into the Undercity. Some of them are more tightly guarded than others. This seemed to be like one of the easier spots for you guys to get into. Does that make sense? So it's like you're sitting on this upper shell that sits as a crust over the Undercity, and the terminus is like the center of it, and this one is called City Center A16.
It's a little lower security than the other ones, or some of the
Right.
other ones.
Right. It's like further out from the true city center, from the terminus center point, because it's like you can leapfrog from one to the other and then hit that one.
Theoretically, it would be easier to get some of the other ones from here, though, than it would be from the Undercity directly under them.
Yes. While it kind of goes A's, B's, C's, D's, all the way into the center, which is Z. So the very center would be Z. And so all of the A's are the outlying. B's are a little more, C's are a little bit further, D's, so forth and so on. And imagine them like they're not hexagonal plates, but they're designed to kind of be free floating. And then the terminus is the connecting point between all of them, and then you can see that it's like tendrils coming out from the terminus that reaches out towards all of them, or all of the other lying plates. Does that give you an image? Do you understand what I'm trying to?
Yeah.
So you have this center, and
I'm
it's
picking up. I'm
fingers
picking
up.
up.
I appreciate that. It's hard to describe this non-organic, organic growth of this whole thing. And
Is it all like one big city, and these are just the individual like boroughs,
right?
Or each one an individual city?
No, each one could function as a self city, but it's more like an unincorporated area that belongs to this major city. So it's like this is the independent school district. They don't have those in Alabama, so you don't know what that is probably. But in Texas, you don't have cities. The city that I grew up in isn't a city. It's an independent school district. It's an ISD. But it functions as a city. There is, leadership to it and everything else like that. So the leadership in it, honestly, was the school board, because it was an independent school district. But still, they function like a city. Kind of the same thing here. You would have like one person who organizes the city's needs down through the rest of the functions, but they report back to the major leadership, so forth and so on. And you are on like I said, you're on the outer edges of it. Looking, if you were to stand at the edge of the city and look down, the Undercity doesn't stretch out underneath even further out. It's actually smaller areas underneath each one of them. Does that make sense? So he's like, it always provides a constant shade over it, but it doesn't expand out from underneath the Undercity.
So each section is like an umbrella, basically.
Yes, exactly, like an umbrella. I just wrote on my fucking wall. Oopsies.
Fuck that up.
Yeah, if you were to, like, if this was the upper city, the Undercity would be. You can see that?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
now we
Gotcha.
can.
Yeah, there.
It looks
Like-
like an egg.
Yeah, like an egg. The yolk and the white. All right, so you're at the terminus. You see the rotation of the guards. You look to see that everything is up to code. You determine that there are no local offices for your cover stories. What about Adela?
I want to see what sort of negotiation body exists.
Thank you. This is not the only organized city within this entire area, and there is there's like a council that meets from each individual. They choose a body that represents each individual city. Let's say not the city centers, the entirety of the city. Each has a representative that comes together, and they do all of their organizations and negotiations by council. So what works best for these? Looking at the entirety of the map, you realize that the populated area versus the total landmass is frighteningly small. Like currently, even here in the United States, we have a lot more empty ground that's not inhabited by anyone. We actually have inhabited places. This is even like more so. There's very few places that have life or life. I say like
This
this.
is a lot like Korea or Japan.
Yes, you have city
Where
centers,
everything is
then a
just
lot
stacked,
of nothing
Okay.
city center, and then lots of nothing in city center, sort of like that.
Okay.
And you're not sure, but you're pretty well. Actually, as a robot, you would understand this particularly well. Maddie wouldn't be sure, but without a high need for agriculture to supply food to mass peoples, the need for this land isn't there. So it's not so much that they just don't inhabit it because it's uninhabitable. They don't inhabit it because it's gone back to the wilds. They don't need it.
Oh, sick. So there's a forest I could have run off to years ago? Damn.
That's how they found you, Romeo. They knew you would be there. Ah! No! Sorry. I'm all shaky right now. Okay. Product placement.
I'm assuming that they have some sort of agricultural scene because they do still have humans, and humans still need to eat.
There's some.
But it's not the industry that it is here. And no.
Yeah, because we're not trying to feed 7 billion people across the entire planet.
We're trying to feed maybe 100 or 200.
And you've already got people developing ways to grow food in warehouses, basically.
Yeah.
So
Or
it'd be easy
kush,
to
either
do
way.
in and around the
Or cannabis, either way. Sure. Food, weed.
It would work for whatever plant.
I'm just saying, hydroponics are a thing. For peas.
Man.
Looking through the rest of the terminus, what other questions did you have about the?
Actually, Adela's gonna look for reports on underground human fighting rings. She's not looking for the underground rings. She's looking for reports, which should be widely accessed because the news should cover them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something like she knows it's not something that should trip the censors that somebody is looking for something they shouldn't be, because this would just be a news report. So it looks like she's just checking up on the news, considering the fact that she started by looking for the negotiation body.
Sure.
To follow up with that.
No, it doesn't raise any alarms.
It looks like she's just looking at the news.
It doesn't raise any alarms. There is some conversation. You can read articles about sanctioned versus unsanctioned and how they're trying to bring more of it about. It's like a resurgence or a renaissance of pugilism that they don't have anymore, and they find that human fighting versus robot fighting is more interesting. It seems to fire processes that may not necessarily be fired. It's interesting because the other articles argue for it as completely unnecessary, that robots shouldn't be entertained by things. What entertainment do we need? We are robots. And you can see they're very... Today they would all be wearing red hats. So you can kind of get the idea that, there are those who are on both sides of it. As far as unsanctioned ones, there are a couple of articles from a ways back of a few rings being busted up here on the top side, where the criminals fled underground, some of them being caught by the ghost squad. Go Ghost Team.
Ghostbuster.
We're phantoms.
And then she is going to look for something a little bit more specific. Because then she is searching all of their names.
Oh.
Please don't.
Exactly, yeah, like exactly how I have it spelled on the overlay, since that would be their identifier, except for hers, because she inputs her serial number instead.
If you put ghost, you're just getting the ghost line.
Oh, more than likely.
Romeo, you're gonna get a million articles about like Spear Corp invents revolutionary new Romeo tech or some bullshit like that.
A lot of it does return.
But it's still information that she wants.
Scanning it quickly, a lot of it is about the release of the Ghost line, and their activities. Whenever you look at Ghost as a keyword, you get millions of hits. Just and like finding anything you can find a not schematic of, but more like a spec sheet. 4 arms, capable legs, strong.
It's
upright.
A seller's spec sheet.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Imagine if that's what cell phone spec sheets looked like, though. Like, has a camera, screen. Like,
I mean, think about it, though.
I get it's more specific, but like, it would be very funny if that was how cell phones were like sold to you.
This camera can make and place phone calls. Oh, I don't want that. This phone can make text messages. I'll take it.
Oh yeah, that's some good shit.
So what do I find?
Have phones and then say, "Don't call me, just text me." Bitch,
what do
that's
I
why you have
find?
a phone.
What do I find with Romeo's?
Romeo's is more interesting. There's very little on it. They do talk about the decommission of that line. How the entire series is being repurposed, and that they will no longer be producing any more of that series.
I will say, I feel like what would turn up in that search would be the explosion of the Spear, or rather, not the explosion, the burning down of the Spear laboratory that Romeo escaped from, and, probably, like, some information about like, hey, there's
I
a
don't-
Romeo unit missing and also a fucking rifle.
I don't know that you would find that because of the fact that it would be almost scandalous material.
Fair enough.
Okay.
And without associating Romeo to that, you wouldn't find that article because of the fact that, holy shit, we have a rogue robot missing.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Okay. What about Zachary?
There is very little information about Zachary.
Which
There are a
doesn't
few
surprise
hits.
me given how smart he is. He was probably working on something confidential.
There is a few bits of information about R&D model robots who will be advancing the future, but it seems to be very general. You see a lot of robots that look a lot just like him, but there's not a whole lot about them.
And then I would have typed in the serial number AL780. Which is hyper specific because that is hers.
There are several articles that you're familiar with. Peaceful negotiations between humans and robots as designed and set down with the aid of, and it lists a series of different models, including yours with your specific serial. There is the talk of your serial in particular doesn't bring up any hits other than, like I said, that those articles about negotiation. But then around the time of what you've estimated to be your decommission, there doesn't seem to be any more articles about your specific serial number.
Okay, then I'm going to switch it to the Adela model.
Okay, that brings up articles about decommissioning the line in lieu of a newer one. But they were keeping some of the models online until full transition can be made, and the new line was known as Penelope.
Fucking Penelope.
She just kind of sneers like you replaced me with a line named Penelope. Fucking god.
Like, at least pick a good name, Jesus.
Every time I see the name Penelope, all I can think about is there was the guys that did Super Troopers did a movie about them on an island where these murders started happening. I can't think of what it is now. But there was a girl in there named Penelope, and one of the dudes kept calling her Penelope. Penelope.
She's doing great things now.
She is.
Out of spite from her Penelope. Penelope. I'm not good with words, I'm sorry.
So, those are the articles that you find along the in the terminal.
Okay. Which isn't to say there are more, but those are the public access ones.
Yeah, those are the ones that you have right
Okay.
handy there.
Then I'm going to look for a knowledge repository. And the location of said knowledge repository, because I highly doubt I'd be able to access it outside of the repository.
Go to the Robo Library.
Why, yes, I am
You
looking
go to the
for
Robo Library. It's
the
just
Robo
a
Library.
USB. It's a USB 14 port. It's a USB B port.
Every once in a while it goes.
It's just got a screen that every once in a while you see an angry face go. I'd like to think that they weren't that cautious. Everything is on the wooden batons. It's all just periodicals. There are no real books left. Those are you have to access via USB cord.
What?
You want to check a book out? It's just a jump drive. You just plug it in to read it on the go.
I like it.
All right.
We would have lost Jack if they were on Kim.
Kitty.
Oh, because Kitty.
Kitty.
Because Kitty.
She's
Just squealing
very
is
loud
all we
and
hear.
Yep, I can hear the squealing now because Jack is watching.
There we go.
Yeah, there it is.
Quality fully.
The nearest one would be in City Center B14, which would be like one terminus hop over.
Okay. No, that's going in another complete ring.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in A16.
I mean, it's still a terminus hop, but it's just an inner ring hop.
Yeah, we have to go in a ring. Okay.
Your eye still bothering you?
No.
Okay. I was just making sure.
I didn't put any foundation on and then put makeup on, so my face kind of itches.
Yay, fun.
Ooh, yikes.
No, I'm allergic to cheap makeup. So if I don't put a foundation on beforehand,
Yeah,
the
that's
itch.
fair.
The itch is
Cheap
there.
makeup's not great.
It's not bad. It's just I react differently to different kinds of makeup. This didn't
Right,
bother me
yeah.
when I was wearing it earlier, and I had foundation on. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna get completely off segment here. What are you using for the Adela lines?
Eyeliner.
Just eyeliner? Okay, I
Yeah.
was wondering if that's what it was. Because I noticed you were rubbing earlier and it didn't like smear off right away, so I was like, okay.
Yeah, did you go
Which-
like pencil or gel?
I was gonna say pencil.
Oh, it's probably a wet liner.
Oh, okay, bet.
It's a wet
Okay,
liner.
cool.
Scandalize.
it's called Scandalize Precision Micro Eyeliner. Stay true color for up to 24 hours of wear. It is by
Oh.
Rimmel London.
Good, so it doesn't just like
Yeah.
off it goes like shitty eyeliner would.
And then the mascara I used was Great Lash. It's just a cheap mascara.
Yeah,
But the eyeshadow,
it does the job.
the eyeshadow is also Rimmel London.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have
So like a-
foundation on, so it's the color edition for the magnifying
Fair.
eyes.
Okay.
So you see the
The
different
blue?
color palettes. Yeah, the blue is the one that I have on. I normally
Yeah.
wear like the bronzes.
Mhm.
So,
Sorry, makeup questions.
yeah,
As
no.
we watch the
And
viewership
then-
just plummet.
And then her lip color is Revlon.
Okay.
And it's the matte, and it's a fucking bright ass pink.
Is that one of the little fuzzy tipped applicator things? That definitely doesn't look like a stick or a pen. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fuzzy tip applicator.
All right. So back to the
Sorry.
game now. Now that we've
Uh,
gone over the makeup.
Just so you're aware, Cap, it is 2 hours.
Okay. We will wrap up here in just a moment. But we do want to go ahead and say you were standing in the terminus. You know that the repository is just over into the inner ring and the B ring. What are you guys doing now? Jason
How
and
much
Zachary.
time have we spent
What's-
doing this?
Probably 20 minutes. The walk over here taking you probably about an hour. So I'd say all said, you're not even quite 2 hours.
Okay. Adela's gonna suggest that they just kill time until the shopkeeper is done with what he needs to do.
Okay.
And then go back. And then she's going to suggest that we head to the repository next.
Okay. What about Zachary?
Zachary will bring up the fact that all the basically all the parts in the box that the creator had Tully send with us. You know, it was all the same company. It's a company that's tied into kind of the leadership. And I'm wondering if that was a intentional clue on his part. You know, if he might be hinting at who's got him. And if somebody tied to the leadership has him, do we really want to go after him? I mean, we've been decommissioned once. Let's not let that happen.
You don't want to push your luck, is that what you're saying?
Right.
You've been mysteriously decommissioned once already. You don't want to see risk your chances there.
This time they might put us in the car crusher. Ain't no coming back from that.
Strip you from
Ghost-
parts.
This is like Ghost knows what that is, probably.
It's just
another-
a giant.
It's another ghost unit, except it's got 8 hands instead of 4.
Ghost is
Like the
secretly
big. It's like the
killing.
little Wallies fighting the big Wallies on the ship. It's just. All right. Anything else you'd like to do at the terminus, other than kill time?
Ghost would just stand still the entire time if he was left alone. He's just like watching.
So he's just standing behind Adela and Zachary as they're at a terminal.
Yes.
Standing behind them, or just like watching Romeo just go off somewhere.
Romeo
Kidding.
just won.
No, no,
Much
you're-
like Atlas in real life, Romeo is.
Yeah.
See,
He's just like,
here's what I think. You've got your back to Adela and Zachary, and you're just tracking Romeo through the crowd.
yeah.
Because
What's
you
Romeo
know
doing
those
right now?
two aren't going anywhere because they're looking
Yeah.
for information.
You're just trying to make sure the old robot doesn't get in a fight. Is that really? It's just.
If he
Put
does
him
get
up,
into a
put
fight,
him up.
Romeo's like, if Romeo does get in a fight, Ghost is just like stomping over.
Just physically picks up Romeo, de-escalates the fight because he's bigger than everybody else, and walks
It
back.
doesn't even
Yeah.
de-escalate it. He just goes over and punches whoever's trying to start the fight.
I was waiting for you to say you walk over and you hear a crumple of metal as you pick him up by the collar that you just made. Just carry him away.
Somebody's
Romeo now
trying
has a
to fight
handle.
Romeo. Nobody's fighting Romeo.
Romeo now
Ghost
has
is
a handle
fighting
for
every-
easy carry.
Oh no, he probably
He just jumps on. He jumps on Ghost's back. Onward to victory, mighty steed.
just like Ghost just like shrugs. Walks around.
Now.
You don't have a choice anymore. We're making
Oh,
Romeo
man.
decisions for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It serves me right.
All right, so before we get off track, so you kill some more time. Couple of hours now have passed, and you make your way back, I assume, unless there's anything else that anybody would like to do. All right, making your way back. The shopkeeper is there. Pardon 91 was his name. Pardon. Pardon 91. He said that earlier, but I don't know if anybody caught it. Or not.
Oh, okay. Pardon 91. That's cute. I like it.
As you enter in, he greets you with a, the eyes going. See, you've made it back. True to my word, I have information for you. And he goes over to his desk and he pulls out a little box and opens it, and he pulls out a small disc. It's about that big. It's a data disk. It's familiar. It doesn't change. It's compressed information on a small disk that's easy enough to read. This is an older style disk, though, so it doesn't have as much information, or it doesn't compress as much information as like newer ones would. But it's compatible with your own optical drives, so it means you can read it easily enough. He says, for one modular upgrade, and he offers it to Zachary. You sure you don't want to part with that stethoscope?
No.
All right.
It was given to me by a dear friend.
All right. Well, good luck in finding the person that you're looking for. There's some interesting stuff on that disc. I had a little look over it. If you're going to go over it, find another place to do it, please.
Why are you nervous?
That's not suspicious at all.
Yes, I am nervous. It's quite suspicious.
Is this something that can just be like plugged into one of us and we can look over it?
Fairly
Ghost-
easily.
Ghost's gonna hold out his hand for it. That's okay.
I mean, Ghost isn't technically connected to the internet. He's not connected to anything anymore.
Ghost wouldn't connect himself.
You know what? While the others go off to like watch this video, I want to stay with Pardon.
Oh, I'm not walking off. I'm just like
He's literally doing it in front of Pardon.
Like
Even
looking
though
at
you
Pardon.
just said you might want to watch this somewhere else.
But it's up
I-
to you because the disc was offered to you,
Ooh.
Jason.
yeah, the disc
Yeah.
was offered to him.
Well, we can pass the disc around, right?
Sure. I mean, it's not like you read it once and it burns up after you read it once.
It is absolutely a suggestion to run it through Ghost first,
Mhm.
since the two
Ghost
of
can
us
probably
connected.
display it. Ghost can probably display it on his face if it's a video, right? Or any of
Also,
the
if it-
files.
If
Please,
it blows up, Ghost is big enough to contain the explosion.
please leave my shop.
He's-
Please.
Yes, of course. I think it might be
Yeah.
advisable to go find a charging station.
Goes right
Plenty of 'em
outside the
around.
door. Click.
Shuts the door, slaps it in there.
Since Adela is connected, she is going to
Uh-huh.
look for a private charging station, something like
Mhm.
a hotel room or an Airbnb that would have a charging station for.
Sure. Yeah, there are secluded ones that are around far enough. There are ones that you can access for, like, say if you were in travel, basically the equivalent of a hotel room that you could rent. And you still have some goods to barter with, as well as some actual like credits to burn. So if you need to.
Did you tell
So
us
we
how
all
many
cram
credits
into
we
one of
had?
those.
Yeah, it's not like Bender's Bender's apartment where it's a closet that opens up into a giant closet. It's more like it's several ports in there. It's designed for like a gathering of you.
Right.
So
Okay.
Once we get there, I'll give Ghost the disc.
Oh.
all right.
Well, here, my tarnished friend. See what's to this.
Did you just call me tarnished?
Mhm.
Well, we all are to some degree. It's a term of affection.
Where?
it's like venom with parasite. It's a term of affection. Take that back.
Apologize.
You call me.
I only get insulting to Romeo.
Ghost is just like,
Mm.
Adela
plug it
just
in.
gently reminds him that everybody has different naming conventions, and that perhaps Zachary considers it a term of endearment, even though it's typically
Hey,
not.
Adela, I promise this is not a cultural difference and that Zachary is just an.
Is this
Romeo-
basically the equivalent of you calling Rocket a trash panda? Wait, is that better?
intentionally.
No, it's
Is that better?
it's worse.
I don't know.
It's
so much worse.
This would be more of Thor calling him a rabbit.
Yeah. Okay.
Insulting.
Okay. It wasn't meant to be insulting. It's just like, hey, whatever.
Just
I got you.
happened.
Romeo, I hate to tell you something. He's only been an asshole to you. You
Oh,
seem
well,
to bring out
good.
the worst in people.
Ghost
Yeah,
like
I've been
Romeo.
told that.
All right.
Actually, Ghost likes the idea that Romeo is like an old battle unit as well, even though he doesn't know the full extent of it. He's just like,
Oh, that was the best. That was the sweetest face.
Do not associate yourself with me. I am not like you.
just like getting
Whoa.
closer.
Papa?
Yes.
Shrinking down.
Papa?
Yes, good
Question
friend.
mark.
Don't associate yourself with that mental mass of metal. You are so
We're
much
like,
better.
Ghost, no, it's a bad influence. And Ghost is like,
He'll only teach you bad things.
That
It's
just
literally-
seals the deal. Ghost wants anything and everything to do with Romeo at that point. Teach me more bad things.
just
Every crotchety dad in every video game ever dynamic where it's like, I'm not your father, and the kid is like, oh, okay, where are we going,
You
Dad?
cannot convince me of anything other than the fact that Romeo 6 is Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino. There's no fucking way you can tell me it's anything else than Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino. He just takes to Ghost like the next door neighbor, the Vietnamese kid next door. Romeo leaves him his gun because he doesn't have a Gran Torino. It's just, it's just you cannot
There you go,
convince
it's
me.
yours.
It's just
Ghost is just like, all four arms, like,
I don't know how to use this. Your hands
Yeah,
don't
he
even fit in it. They're just
throws it
huge.
like a spear.
Romeo is Booker DeWitt, who made slightly better life.
Okay.
Slightly.
Booker DeWitt, they made slightly better life choices. Yeah.
Slightly.
Slightly better. All right. In
Plug
this
it in.
room, you plug in the disc. Images flash in front of you and data feeds into your brain. Stories of robots gone missing. Stories of bots being decommissioned before they should have. Stories of humans going missing. And more alarming is something about, and this is rumor kind of mill stuff. The possibility of humans trying to pass via upgrades as robots.
Okay. So, Cap.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't know if you extrapolated this from my backstory, because I didn't tell you, but one of the things Romeo saw in that basement was who were being fused with robots.
This is more data about that. The images that appear in front of Ghost's brain, had he been the innocent, sweet, muscle-bound Dumbo that he is, would scar him, as it shows some of these. And as the last image flickers and the last of the data is read off, you eject the disk, a bit shocked by what you found. And that's what we're going to call the session for the night. So you found data that says that androids or cyborgs are being worked on, that robots are being decommissioned that shouldn't have been. Much like our 4 intrepid robots.
Well,
Romeo's
yes.
gonna bust some fucking head!
Yes, but I think the only one who was actually scheduled to be decommissioned was Adela.
Romeo.
Well, but Romeo was repurposed though. Like he was a firefighter bot.
True.
It
At
was
that
a
point-
personal repurposing.
Like at that point, he was a service
It was a
bot.
personal
So he was a service bot at that point. So
Mhm.
there was no he wasn't scheduled to be discontinued. Adela was scheduled to be discontinued.
Hmm.
She has no idea why the hell Ghost was discontinued. Laura knows. And she can't find out too much about Zachary to know yay or nay, so.
I guess you and everybody else will have to tune in next week to find out more.
Tune in
As
next
we
week
Brobots.
Brobots.
Binary heroes.
Yeehaw!
I want to give a huge shout to Maddie again for hosting. And I think, did you guys work together today to
Nope.
do the stream? Okay. V, thank you so much for showing up. Jason, good to have you and good to be back.
We're dealing
And
with that
even though a little late to the party, we're so glad to have Atlas with us.
I'm bringing on Jack's memory.
Oh, just
We're not adding.
a little
but
late.
We're adding.
we're not adding, but we're
adding,
totally
but it
adding
is-
at you.
it is a
We're
close
adding with love.
as well as a remembrance.
Good to see that some things never change. We always need.
Jack in chat. ... Rude.
Love you, you know this.
We love and miss
Again,
you, Jack.
my name. Yes, we do. We are thankful that you were able to watch. We do miss having you hang out, and but we are glad that you were able to hang out and chat, and we are glad to have everybody who came along. Huge shout out, by the way, to Callie Xenon for my watchers and viewers. Please make sure you pop over to Callie Xenon's channel. You can click on their name. That will take you over to their Twitch channel. Give them a follow. Callie actually leads the Xenon Armada, which is the Destiny group and the Dreadnought group that we're all a part of, as well as they have a presence on WoW, as well as far as I know. If you are a Destiny 2 player on PC, look me up. It's Captain Sack, pound 1492. That's right. I sailed the ocean blue. You can find me, Captain Sack 1492, and on battle.net. We play Overwatch together sometimes and things like that. Love to have you guys come and hang out. If you have any questions about creating your own game, running a D&D game, running a Pathfinder game, hell, running just about any RPG out there, feel free to give me a shout. You can find me on our Discord server for Dire Bear Adventuring Company. And let's see, gosh, what we got going on? So much. We've got Monday nights. We're doing Foundations of Adelar. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Come by and check us out. It's a lot of fun and some tension. And we have a new person who started last week. And man, last Monday, guys, if you did not tune in, you really missed out. I had to make a moral decision on whether or not to kill a baby.
And I was stuck in traffic, so I missed that entire fucking conversation.
Yep.
I ate grass and a lot
Two-
of dirt.
Yeah. Grimly. Poor Grimly.
Was that in character or was that more?
No,
in
that was in character. Grimly just fucking ate grass and dirt.
So, I will
It's
give
out
you
of
this.
character.
It wasn't a human baby. It was a hag baby, but it looked like a human baby. I'm either the worst person ever in the face of history, or really good at making.
We didn't say it.
True
We didn't
decisions.
say it.
I know you
really
didn't have to.
Really
I
quick.
know what I'm about.
This
Um,
Eminem has a little thing. I just want to do.
That Eminem has a nipple.
beautiful.
Yeah, it has
A
a
ba-
nipple.
It
Beautiful.
has a child. You just ate a child in their No, I'm kidding.
My con season is currently on hold until March, so I don't have any big ones coming up until March.
Mhm.
I applied for Stitched on Sunday.
Yeah, we should. I hope you get that. I'm rooting for you.
For those who don't know what it is a fashion designing competition filmed here in Toronto. And if I get on and win, I win $10,000. Which will
Damn,
That
go a
would be
long
helpful.
way to
Yeah,
helping
damn,
me live
Stitch.
here in Toronto.
Yeah.
I applied with 4 cosplays and a dress I made for my parents' 25th anniversary.
Fantastic looking stuff. I know that my con season is just dialing up. To that point, I will be at the Huntsville Comic and Culture Expo on March the 9th and 10th, running Dungeons and Dragons. This con season, our game is the Ruination of Waltish Rake. It's a slightly shorter one than the last season, which was the Theroun's Traveling Theater. So I will be running that all weekend. The weekend of February the 15th, 16th, and 17th. So that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Magic the Gathering is releasing their new card pack for Ravnica Alliance, and I will be there representing the D&D side of things with another adventure from the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, and that whole thing. I'll be running a game on Friday night, which will still be our adventure night. So that will be a special private event, early access to the game. It's $20, but it is a meal plus me entertaining the shit out of you for 2 or 3 hours. On Saturday, I'll be running 2 games during the day. On Sunday, I'll be running 2 games, but Saturday night. Bring a date and escape the adventure. Couples will be working together to figure out puzzles, solve problems, and try to just get out of the adventure alive. And it will be a lot of fun. Adult beverages will be had as part of dinner. It's a $50 buy-in, but that's for the couple. And again, like I said, we'll have adult beverages as well as food for everyone. And we are working on a new dinner menu and everything. So come by Lucky Dice Cafe in Huntsville, Alabama, if you would like to travel that far and come say hi to me. I am found there quite often throughout the week, or at least the weekends. To that point, let's see, what else do we have going on? I think that's it for me for the next couple of months, and then I'll trying to get into con. I can never pronounce the name of this, Ouroboros, which is the Doctor Who con. There is a Doctor Who RPG that's out, and I am actually looking to learn the rules for that and run it. And speaking of games that I am looking to run and rule, hey, Jason, we're running Mutants and Masterminds again this Friday.
I'll be running
family
Starfinder this Friday.
just missed each other, but that's okay. I had some people request it because they weren't able to make it whenever I did run it last time. So I said, yeah, I'll run it. Absolutely run it this time.
Was that the family with the kid that broke the 2 arms?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. He fell off of his bike and broke both of his arms, and one of them they have to get it x-rayed like every week because it's set and they got to make sure it doesn't move. But great guys, if you're out there watching, hello Ashburn family, Fulton Ashburn family. Yeah, man, I don't think I have anything else going on. I don't think we even have that much to discuss this week. We
Not really.
didn't get too heavy in the mechanics.
A lot of RP.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah. Do you just have your hand up? Or are you saying something?
I just wanted to mention that I'm going to be in C2 at C2E2 end of April, and I usually do that for the whole weekend. So if you're around, I'm not sure what my cosplay lineup is. I'm gonna try and have Spider-Verse Doc Ock done by then, but we will see. So yeah, if you see me,
I would like to. This is just me personally because I think you could pull it off. I would like to see a Spider-Gwen.
Spider
I think
what?
you could Spider-Gwen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about that, but I was like, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of Spider-Gwens, and like out of that whole movie, the character that I liked the most was Doc Ock.
No, I absolutely
sorry for
agree.
anyone who hasn't seen the movie, but yeah, Doc Ock's great. The other one I was thinking of is doing Janet from The Good Place, because that's pretty easy. Also, it would be really funny to be walking around and for people to be like, Janet, and for me to be like, hi.
I like that idea.
So yeah, I'll be at C2E2. I'll have a more concrete cosplay lineup coming up, but
Real quick before we go, I
Chicago
do wanna also mention, guys, your cosplay needs, whatever it is, you need to commission Maddie. She is fantastic. I know I say this a lot, but photos of her costumes are out there, and she always just knocks it out of the park. She's fantastic, and you're working on a Cade 6 right now, is that right? Whew, I can't wait to see that finish.
I just printed off paper patterns for the helmet.
Oh, nice.
For the faceplate. I have the lights.
Yeah, you showed us the lights on there.
The orange one pretty much glows yellow and will be attached to this battery pack because it's voice activated.
Oh, nice.
So I'm gonna muffle the microphone.
So when you talk,
I'm gonna muffle the microphone and put it here.
So
it only picks up on my voice and it'll light up.
Nice.
And the blue goes for his eyes, and they're a nice bright blue.
Nice, I like it. Also, in the way of commission, if you join our Discord, which it's free to everybody, join it. Just if you're in the channel, just hit pound Discord, I believe. Not pound, exclamation point Discord. Join our Discord server. We have fantastic artists, of whom Atlas is one of them. But we also have Zone. Atlas? What? That would be our grumpy old robot. We
More
also have
affectionately known as Cal and Fuckface 6.
Leggies. We also have
God, leggies.
Let's see. We have Atlas, we have Zone, Interstellar, and Ritual Blush. Guys, commission them. Their art is fantastic. Every single one of them. They are fantastic, and I love them, and I love all of the drawings. Matter of fact, this whole game was based off of a drawing that I want to say Zone started with Rabbit, the robot. This whole thing kicked off because of that. It flooded my brain, and I was like, we got to do this. So
we got to make robots.
Exactly, we've got to make robots, and I've got to figure out a system. I didn't like any of the systems that were out there, so I went, this is what we're doing. So anyways, I've rambled on enough. Want to thank you all again for tuning in. See you on Monday, unless you are in the Huntsville area and you'd like to come play some D&D with me at some point in time. I'm there every Sunday from 3 to 6, running the Adventurers League. We have 3 tables now. That's how big it's going. So come by and see us. Yeah.
Last thing, just for everybody, I hope you guys are all ready for this. I am currently in the process of playtesting a homebrew that I am running, and I will be running for Dire Bear. It may take me a couple more months to finish getting everything worked out. I've got 2 different groups running a bunch of different character classes through so I can test a bunch of buffs. But in a couple months, I'm going to have everything ready, and you should see a new game with a new DM.
Eventually, you'll see us running a game. My goal is to have us running a game every night. It may not always be me, because Jesus knows I need a break every once in a while. But Maddie is going to be the first one. I'm very proud of having met her and how far she's come as a DM and just everything. So I'm happy to have her, and I can't wait to see what she puts out there for us. But enough. I'm going to gush all over the place here affectionately. So thank you again to Maddie, V, Jason, and to Atlas, Cal. We love you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you all on Monday. Take care of yourselves and stay warm. It's really fucking cold.
Oh, it's so fucking cold.
Good night, guys.